again, so the Maamorim is really just all out to explain the Maila of the Oitza that's granted to every Yid. Higher even the Oir in Sof, which is Etzem Oir, Eina Misarev. It doesn't mix, notwithstanding the fact that the Oir in Sof creates and enlivens all of existence. So knowing that a Jew has that koyach, it's also a tremendous thing, which means whatever matzav he is, whatever situation he is, he remains connected to Hashem in this very deep, miraculous, infinite way. The Ein Sof is the source of miracles. That's extraordinary right there. That the Yid is granted the Ein Sof, invested in him in order to vanquish his internal enemy and the external enemy. That much more than that, he's given the very Oitza, which is Mamish the Etzem, which we continue now in Ois Tes. Yud Ches we didn't do. Note Yud Ches. Okay, let's do Note Yud Ches. You have it just before Ois Tes. He was talking about the difference between Oir and Koyach. Koyach, we explained yesterday, we addressed the three levels of Etzem, Oir, and Koyach. We give a mashal for it, of the Chosid's influence on his environment. Mitzad Koyach, Mitzad his Oir, Mitzad his Etzem. This we explained yesterday. And the mile of Oir, which is the focus of the Maamorim here, is, again, that the Oir remains unchanged wherever it is. And even though there's different kinds of light, it's only because the source is different, but the light of the particular source remains uniformly unchanged. Now the Maamorim said, and even though the light of the sun...
I'm sorry, for 1 second. Why can't you say that the change is only Legabe our perspective, not Legabe the reality?
That's what we're saying. The light remains essentially unchanged.
Okay. And this that we see a change in Koyach or Oyer.
No. That's only in Koyach. At the level of Koyach, there is a change. At the level of
change in the Oyer or Legabe our perspective, or in reality.
The way the Maamorim speaks in reality, there's a level of Malak Almin that is invested in creation, and that is changed. This is a level that is changed. Yeah, it's affected. It's Nispol, the Tzimtzum, Hishtalshalus. He says from biyad down is a real change. Now, we addressed this at the beginning of the Maamorim, that's external, not just from our perspective, but it's true, but only externally. And even within the Koyach, there's the Darg of Oy, which is not changed. It's not just from our perspective. The Oy is from our perspective, changed in the various levels that it's invested in and creates. But Koyach, there is a real change. But we're just saying, that's not really the subject so much, but we addressed this in the beginning, that Koyach is the external dimension of the Oir. Let's not repeat that whole thing. I went into that a little bit when we started this whole Maamorim, because he sends us to like actually even in the Rebbe's mind, even in the Fidik Rebbe's mind, but not going to all this now, but Akol upon you. It's actually, I think, even in the he sends us to, Samach Daled 9 days. But there he addresses whether Koyach has a separate level or it's in the same darga. There's Oir and Koyach, which is really his second explanation. And that's more the Inyan. The Etzem is everywhere, Oir is everywhere, and Koyach to some degree, relatively speaking, is also on every level. Again, it's not the subject of the Maamorim, and we'll just have to leave it as it is, however well we understand it is good. The point the Maamorim is saying overtly, clearly is, the Maamorim wants us to appreciate that the Oir is Nimshach Lamata and unchanged. Now, Oisut Ches is saying, now, even though the marshal for Oir, or the incarnate for Oir, is the sun, and we see that there is a change. The sun doesn't illuminate so strongly as it does down here, as it does Lamaila. So he said that's only because the Maamorim said because the sun is still finite, relatively speaking, so therefore its light's going to be limited. The fact that the light isn't so powerful down here is not because of the light, because of the impurity of the air that's down here. As it's known, he brings it from Tzaddik Gimel, the mitzad Gershom and Nimtzoim Shalamata, because of this world is corporeal and physical, it causes a corruption or a pollution of the atmosphere, of the air. And that's why the light of the sun doesn't illuminate down here. So even he's adding in Hara Yudches, even the light of the sun, be'emes, would illuminate much more brilliantly, lamata, unchangingly. It only doesn't because of the conditions down here. Now, Tess. Sima Pereko, so how does the Fidik ever conclude the Perek? Is quoting from the Fidik Rebbe that the Ein Sof descends without end down here. Shall be spashtus begiloi. It spreads and is revealed ad gam b'madreges hayeses shvalim betachlis, even the lowest levels, as we explained in the previous chapters, the endless numbers of creations, etc., and other expressions of the infinitude of the creative force, even in Elam Hazeh. Now, the Prakim Shalachar is this Maamorim is in the middle. This Ois Yudalit is in the middle of a discussion, middle of making a point. So the Rebbe has to deal with what it all leads to, and that is in the later chapters he concludes Bira in the Sof Lamadin and Katz. Now he spoke about the Mathamadin Tachlis, but in the ensuing chapters he talks about the mile of Ein Sof in the highest, loftiest levels. Shegam Shom Ba'ifim Kazeh, there too, like we point out down here, the infinite property is not compromised there to above wherever the Oy reveals, it is revealed in an infinite way. That's what he goes on to say in the ensuing chapters. But at the end of the day, the whole point is to bring out that these two milas, the Mailad in Ketz, the Matad in Tachlis, the Kroim B'Shem Oy, that's still not the Etzim, it's Etzim Oy Take. It's Take Etzim Oy, but it's still Oy. Shinyona Gilui. It's still revelation of God and not the Eibush himself, Mamish. Even though it's totally beyond creation, in other words, infinite, because it's fundamentally beyond creation, wherever it descends to create, it remains pure and infinite. Not effective and unchanged. Notwithstanding that, it's still not the Oitza, the Etzem Oil. Now, this is given to a Yid. This is granted
and this is the basic nekuda that's been underlined in the whole.
This is what he wants to get. Yeah, it's all to appreciate the Oitzer by first appreciating the Reichkeit, the wonder, the great empowerment, the great gift of the Ein Sof that a Yid is granted. But beyond the Ein Sof in our Avodah, we're granted the Oitzer. Shinyan Hasosun, that's something that's fundamentally concealed. And not a matter of revelation, like we said. The essence of Hashem is beyond revelation. Revelation already means being revealed somewhere, on some level. And there is no somewhere. There's only the Eibishter. So the Eibishter is Yoshes Cheshech Sisrei. His secret is in darkness, as it were, hide in Gilui. That's what's given to every Yid. This treasure is given to every Yid. Why? Because every Yid is drafted in Hashem's army in order to achieve and conquer the world. Did he go in battle in the world? Starting with the internal battle with the foreign God that's within you, which refers to the Yitzhara, says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Zobin Yerushalayim. That's refers to building Yerushalayim. So what's he saying with that? That the victory is all about the rebuilding of Yerushalayim, Mashiach, conquering the Golus. First of all, with internally to build his own Yerushalayim. What's building his own Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim, perfect awe of Hashem. So in order to achieve the building of Yerushalayim, which equals Nitzachim, Netzach is a reference, this description of L'chashem, Agdula, Agvura, all these various descriptions and praises. What's Netzach? It's your Yerushalayim. So this, which means victory. So we see the association with Netzach and Yerushalayim, Yerushamayim, which is referred to by our sages as the Oitza, the very same term, as the treasure, the storehouse. Oitza Yerushamayim. It's the pintal essential Jew. I can't do otherwise because I am a Jew. Beyond the classic fear of heaven, fear of retribution, or whatever it might be. It's Yerushamayim because he sees heaven. Yira isn't seeing in the deepest way. Inside the text of the Maila, so how does a Jew affect the Nitzachon over his personal Yetzirah? And the Nitzachon in the world, it's through the Avodah of Mesiras Nefesh. Like we said before, Seichel is the highest koyach of the Nefesh, and here we're speaking about the oir of the Nefesh, and even deeper, the etzem of the Nefesh. So it's higher than any intellectual commitment and rationale or agenda. A Jew is drawing on what? He's drawing on this treasure, this hidden treasure of Yerushalayim, of fear of God in the highest level of Mesiras Nefesh, that every Yid has. Again, because what is this Oitzer? It's the etzem. It's not because he understands, because of a cheshbon, because of its truth. There's no because. It's beyond all calculation. It's because he's a Yid. I am a Yid. That's the Oitzer that's unlocked. The level of Yechida. And why is it called Yechida? Because the Yechida receives and is one with the singular man, with God himself. Yechida Shalom, the singular, unique one of all of existence. And that's the Oitzer that's given. I am a Yid. It's the deepest truth, the essential truth. And when that is revealed, it's the greatest Mesiras Nefesh, but the paradox is there's no struggle with Mesiras Nefesh. There's no hesitation, there's no struggle, he's no martyr. It's easy, because that's who I am. There's no choice. So this is given to us, we just have to use it. And we have to use it in a way of bizbuz, which means in everything, and it means totally devoted to whatever is required, without cheshbon. That's when we're victorious in this great battle. And he elicits that Hashem unlocks his. So it's two ways. First, he's given the Oitzer. This unlocks the Oitzer within him. And third stage is it causes even a further bizbuz of the Oitzeres. Implying here is bracha pasha begashmius, that he's given all the great treasures, including begashmius. And what he's given is the etzem, the hein yaka, which is higher even than the Oid Sof and the extraordinary, infinite truth of that revelation of Hashem. He's given beyond that. He's given the Oitzer. Where was Yutes? I used Yutes. Where is that in the text? I missed it. Didn't notice it. Where is it?
2 lines from the end. At the end of the line, Shalamayla. The end of the ice, before the end of the ice. It's like 2 lines up.
Yesh lahoisiv. So this is something that Rabbi said in the previous Maamorim, that Shabbos, or Friday night, v'yesh lo hisav shebinyan haitzes de l'mayla nichlal gam klolos ha'inyan yizgalus halikus hadei tzadikim. Included in the great treasures that is granted every year is that the Eibishter gives us tzadikim, through whom godliness is revealed. That's the great gift, the essential gift. Quotes here from Tanya that the tzaddikim, and likewise the miracle that Hashem has performed, that's the revelation of Alikus Lamata. Especially not Stam Tzaddik, but the Nasi Adoir, Asher Bosa Reisha Gufa Ozal, the body follows the head. Gam Kashem is Ale Be'iloy Achar Iloy. This in Hilchos Eidevim, where the person is found in the Eidov, outside the Eidov, so it's where his head is. The rest of the body is then considered in that place. So, Gam Kashem is Ale Be'iloy Achar Iloy, even as the Nasi Adoir ascends to height after height, incomparable heights. He doesn't leave, doesn't forsake the sheep of his flock. The Gemara says, just like then he stood and served during his physical life, now too he stands. He stands. Moshe the Rebbe stood for hours and hours and hours. The Meshama stands and serves. And reveals everything. It draws down everything in a revealed way. In a good, revealed, apparent and revealed way. And it's obvious that the brachas come in a way, and the likus is revealed in a way not with pain and suffering. He is mamshich the likus in such a way that Hashem dwells in the world, and we can see it b'muchash with our senses. The glory of Hashem is revealed, and the flesh will behold it. Continuing now the Maamorim. And everything we're saying now, that in order to achieve the victory in the Milchama, a Yid is given the very Eitzer, which is the Melech himself. David himself, higher than his highest revelation, which is the Ein Sof. So this is what it says in Medrash, Moshe Melech. The Medrash is on the Pasuk. The Pasuk says, Chelki Havaya Amra Nafshi. My portion is God, my soul declares. Said the Medrash, what does this mean? So the Medrash gives the Moshe, we all don't it, Alf Nisa Maamorim. But Yamash to Osir. This Medrash is explained exquisitely. We learned it with Zalman, right? Zalman taught it. So the Medrash gives a moshel of a king that came to a city. And the chshuvim, the prestigious people of the city were granted audience. And moreover, they were granted whatever they would like. And so the king comes with him with duchsin, dukes or generals, and ifrichin, and he started tulin, different generals, captains. And so one person came along and said, I'll take the general. Another one said, I'll take the commander, whatever these words mean, duke, commander. The other one said, you'll take the captain. There was one pikech, one insightful fellow that said, Anon Nasiv Malka, I take the king. So the Medrash concludes, likewise, the nations of the world, so they choose the sun, and they worship the sun and the moon and the various forces of nature. And Eden, Chelki Havaya Amra Nafshi, Eden choose the Eibishter Anon Nasiv Malka. The deeper meaning behind this is explained there in that Maamorim that he's referring to here as well is that the various ministers, dukes and captains and generals that come with the king, that's all revelations of the king. They're all the kings. to the king's people. So they refer to his loftiest revelations. But a Jew says no, he doesn't want any revelation that will fulfill him. He wants the king alone. Hanon Nosiv Malka. Let's see inside the words of the Maamorim. Moshe Lamelech Shanichlis LeMedina, the Moshe of a king who enters into a country, etc. He has these different levels of accompanying entourage, and people stopped and took. Another Moshe explains there, in this Moshe is you come to the king's palace, and it's so extraordinary, it's overwhelming, so intoxicating, that you come into the stable, and a person stops, he can't go further. They've seen such a stable. Next person, he musters the strength. A stable, it's a stable. Then he goes into the courtyard, stops there because completely blown away by the courtyard, and then the inner courtyard, blown away, blinded by the light, intoxicated by the gold and the silver, and the beauty and the wealth, the riches of it all. Until there's only the Pikeach. No, he's not distracted by any of this. He continues deeper and deeper. Ano Nosiv Malka, I want to see the king. There.
Kitoin Shaboy Nimsa Melech.
Yeah, the small chamber where the king is. And even though there he's completely nullified to the king, and there's no experience like the stable, the garden, the beautiful antechamber, or in the Moshel, taking these generals and having these generals work for you, or grant you your wishes. The king alone, there's no request even. It's just the king alone. I just want to add in Pashtus, it's not just to see the king alone. And if the king's upset, he'll be happy. No. He wants to see the king in his glory, the king happy. That's what he wants to see. The king is happy. That's what the Jew desires, and that's the treasure, the king himself, that's granted to every Yid. It's inside the Maamorim now. One said, I'll take the duchsin. Lagabi to me. I think the word duke comes from here. And one said, I'll take the ifrachin, the higher level. This is the medrash. There was one insightful fellow. Omar, he said, Anon Nasiv Malka, I will take the king. Like we find by the Alter Rebbe. And you all know that the Rebbe chose this, our Rebbe chose this quote as the conclusion of the Hayom Yom. Omar, that he said, I'm just telling you that from what the Fabrengens that I, Moishe, and you heard or saw, the Rebbe could never say these words without his voice breaking. What did the Alter Rebbe say? The pasuk says, "Mili b'shamayim," who is for me in heaven? And that which is with you, I do not desire on earth. So I don't want heaven, I don't want earth. Said the Alter Rebbe, "Zech will nit." Then Gan Eden, Natachna, I don't want you. That's the earth. I don't want your lower Gan Eden. Ich will nit dein Gan Eden Elyon. I don't want your upper heaven. Ich will man it as dich allein, only you alone. Which of course, what Tzemach Tzedek is possible. Tzemach Tzedek related this. That Rebbe would say this in moments of dveikus, and it was publicized in print, which means it's shaykh to everyone. This is demanded from every Jew. She should desire the king alone. He wants the essence of Hashem alone. No revelations, no light, no glory, but the king alone. Beyond even God's infinite revelation. This is what a Jew has to desire. And this is what's given to a Yid. And this is the Yid affecting its Avedish and his Paul, Mishekar Olam, The whole Maamorim speaks about turning the lie of the world into the kshorim, the kroshim, the boards of the base of the Mishkan, which then becomes the kesher, the deepest bond with God. So a Yid is poil with his avodah, empowered by the king himself and his desire to be with the king. He's not expelled from the lies of the world. On the contrary, like David Dosim Mesiras Nefesh, not only is he not affected by the world's lies, but through his avodah Mesiras Nefesh, right, coming from the essence of his soul, that the Eitzer unlocks. What is his avodah shtus kedusha? He's crazy in holiness, and his crazy holiness, he is able to transform the lie of the world. And he transforms it into a board, into a part of the very Mishkan for Hashem. There's a pearl in the this effect. Hashem dwells amongst each one of us. Hashem's dwelling place here in this world. What's the dwelling place? Where you live is where you're fully you. That's what the essence of the king, uncompromised, is expressed as in his dwelling place. And where's that dwelling place? We make it here. And here is revealed. And this has affected the general Beis Hamikdash. It brought about through I'll dwell amongst you in the plural, each Jew. All right, this was the Maamorim of Matzoi Shabbos Kodesh, Pashas B'Shalach, Yudal Shvat, Tashon Chov Dalet. We're just going to get to repeat this whole Maamorim. So we're going to be here for another 10 shiurim. So we'll just read at least that. Yes, we'll read the Teichano in Yonim. The bottom line we got, friends, we're given the Eitzer. We're given the Melech himself. This has to arouse within us the desire for the Melech himself, for Atmos. Not reward, not fulfillment, not gain, not experience, not enlightenment, not inspiration. He's not seeking inspiration. He doesn't want to be inspired. He wants to be connected to the Melech. And as I added, he wants to see that the Melech is happy. The Melech has tainug from his avoid and the avoid of everybody else. This is what a Jew desires, Anon Nasiv Malka, and this is granted to us in order to achieve the ultimate victory. Okay, so the summary reads as follows. The pasuk says, and you enliven them all. Now, sometimes you is a reference to the very essence of God. In this case, it's not, but it refers to the very letters Aleph, Taf, Ata, Aleph till Taf, and the Hey, the 5 organs of speech in this whole Baruch Nis within Hashem, through which God, which in other words, it's his infinite light, through which he creates all of existence and enlivens them. But this creative force is concealed. This was a big part of the Maamorim. But the animating force is something that we can arrive at and appreciate through meditation and see the pulsating life in the universe and the world and the examples he gave in the Maamorim. Which is why the pasuk says "Vatamachayis kulam," because what we see is the chayis. But these havos that God's creating every second out of nothing, that's behelim. But it's included in this pasuk. Now, what's the dik of the pasuk? Vatamachayis kulam. You create and enliven everything, even klippus. Remember the Beit Sekinim, and even that which is lower than klippa, meaning a Jew would transgresses. And the worst transgression he explained was using Torah itself against Torah. Yet even there, even if I spread my bed, I make my bed in the she'ol, in the depth, in the grave, hineko, which is Gehenim, hineko, behold, it's you. That Eid Insof is even in the she'ol, which explained is not a question of suffering and punishment, but rather cleansing. And then he added, and there in the she'ol he sees godliness. As you're in Yonis said, Bet and Shoel. No, it's not the pasuk. Yim Bet and Shoel Shavasi. No, Yonis made it Shoel by Yoel. No, not this one talking. Yeah, that's Yoina, that from the depth he calls out to the Eibishter. In other words, he discovered God in the depth. And so much so that the depth itself causes the greatest aliyah. And so Rabbi Meir said about Acher better he should be judged in purgatory, because then he'll come to the world to come. So only what is he saying over here? That the Ein Sof is all the way even the mata. And it's a big part of the mind that often our discovery of God is only out of the depths, in the lowest places. And the Maimon goes on to say that the Ein Sof is drawn down everywhere and is unaffected and unchanged, uncompromised. Even the Kelim of Atzilus, there's no real change. They're beyond limit. An example of writing. Even as you're writing, the power to write remains simultaneously endless relative to that one letter. But Atzilus then goes and produces that which is finite outside of Atzilus. I won't repeat that whole asbara there. But like Yosef, the beautiful example of Yosef, that he is Atzilus, even as he engaged, he retained that consciousness and that connection, even as he was involved in the world in the most intimate way and in a huge way, enormous way, running all the affairs of Egypt, and still it didn't in any way distract him from his avodah. And this is true of the Rebbeim. He told us about Shem Tov and the generations after him, that despite their loftiest levels, they engage the world and they remain unchanged as they engage the world. And that's all the mile of the oil, which is machaya, that there's no shin in this pilus. Because it doesn't mix. Why doesn't it mix? Because it's etzem oil. That's in between oil and koyach. And then the final word is, but the oitzer is high even than this. This is the non nasiv malka, and that's granted to every Jew unequivocally in our generation to achieve personal and collective victory. Okay, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow, friends, we're going to start. The next month is a lot easier. The Maim Tavshim Dalet is much simpler and shorter. And God willing, we'll finish before Shvat.